Hello, I'm Keith Spera from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Welcome to Let's Talk. 35 years ago, my guest today bought a rundown second-floor bowling alley at the corner of Carrollton and Tulane. He rechristened it Rockin' Bowl, and with that, a quintessentially New Orleans night spot was born. He's since built a new, bigger bowling alley several blocks from the original, expanded the Rockin' Bowl brand to Lafayette, and kept right on rolling through Katrina, a couple of health scares, and a social media kerfluffle or two. Here to talk about all that and more is John Blancher. John Blancher.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you for being here, man. 35 years you've been doing this. As we speak here in the fall of 2023, you're 70 years old, so you've literally done Rockin' Bowl for half your life.
Half my life.
When I think about it, I mean, you've averaged, what, over the years, at least, 4 nights a week at the bowling alley? I mean,
Yeah,
more or less?
4 nights would be
Conservative?
conservative, yeah. I mean, I'd say for the first 20 years, it was 7.
First 20 years.
Yeah, you know.
7 nights a week.
But it, now I get a break, every now and then on a Sunday and Monday. But still, I mean, anytime there's live music going on, I'm there.
Well, so if you do the math, so let's say 4 nights a week, let's just say 4 nights a week, times 52 weeks, 200 nights a year at least, times 35, I mean, that gets you to what, 8,000 nights at least or something like that you spent at Rockin' Bowl?
I would say so. I would say so.
Which is staggering.
If I step back and think about it, I mean, it is staggering.
Yeah.
And when I first decided to take this journey, the anticipation, the few nights before I took over the bowling alley, I would wake up in deep sweats because I knew that my life was going to change drastically. And I knew that all these things that I had been doing in the past, going to wedding receptions, going to family gatherings, Sunday dinner at my mom and dad's house, going to my son's ball games, practicing. I used to wake up right before taking over the bowling alley. I would get up in the morning and throw balls to my son. Mm-hmm. I'd go to work. I'd come back at noon and throw balls to my son. And then in the evening, I would be with him at the playground coaching him. And that was my regimen all the time. And I knew that when I took over this bowling alley, that my life was going to change, and I didn't know how so. And it was just but at the time, I was so broke. I had no money. And I was taking this over on a prayer, and literally a prayer.
A wing and a prayer, but mostly prayer. Yes.
And that I had no alternative but to just get in there and try to outwork myself from failure. And
outwork yourself from failure.
And there was so many times in the early days, I was, on the brink of bankruptcy, and I was there, I guess, 38 days when I first started consulting about, well, how do I file for bankruptcy? Because I just didn't see, nor anyone else could see, how I would stay alive. And some kind of way, I mean, the good Lord just kept keeping me in business. At the time, if I'd had one, cooler go out, if I'd had, any type of,
unexpected
mechanical,
expense.
expense, I was finished.
It was over. Right. It was over.
So
you were operating that close to the edge where it was going to be over.
Yeah. And so anyway, things kept going on. And at that time, the local media was really helpful. They, occasionally I would get a little write-up here or get a little television coverage there, and always following that coverage, there was always a little spike in business, and it was always just enough to get me to the next month. We had so many times that too, that the coverage would generate the interest of a customer who would come in because they saw something in the newspaper or saw something on the television, and that person resulted in being a huge influence and help to me going on.
And it's 35 years later, all those nights. And that's the thing. I mean, yeah, you talk about how you had to give up playing ball with your son and going to family dinners and going to all these weddings, because, I mean, what was the statistic you told me one time? Like in the first 10 years, you took off like 2 Friday nights or something crazy? Like some,
I
like
forget
every
what it
single
was, but
weekend, every single
it was,
weekend.
I'd say 10 years, I never missed a Saturday. There were 2 Fridays I had missed, and it was something really bizarre that had occurred,
Right.
But my life, all of a sudden, my life became rock and roll.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was fortunate. I mean, I had the support of my wife, and my children were nearby. I mean, they would come and visit, and so I would see them,
Right.
And I would occasionally, run off to see a ball game. But back, when my son was playing ball, that was around 95, 96. There were no cell phones.
Right.
And so if now I could go to a ball game, and if there's a problem, you give me a call.
Right.
Then
No.
I go to the ball game, and I didn't know what was going on at the bowling alley.
Which, for a guy who likes to be in control of the situation, that kind of drove you crazy, not knowing that something was going on there. Yeah.
And it was born. I mean, that anxiety. To try to do a little quick story, but I was there a year, and it was around this time, and I was just getting ready to do my first band, Johnny J and the Hitmen. So I took over November 1st, 88, November 2nd, 89. I have a band coming in. But in a few days before, now I had never, taken off. I mean, once I'd get there at 9 o'clock in the morning, I was there till midnight, 1 o'clock the next morning, and every 7 days a week. And I said, there was nothing happening. I told the fellow, I'm gonna run home, just see my family. I won't be long. And as soon as I got home, I tell him, oh, hello, the phone rings. John, there's a fire at the bowling alley, get here quick.
Oh, gosh.
Now, this is a few days before the first band. And I just jump right back in the car, I run there, there's fire engines everywhere. I go up the steps, and there's nothing happening. And I said, what happened? He said, it's out. I said, well, how did it go out? The fellow told me he was behind the bowling desk. They had one customer in the place at the time, and he saw this smoke coming from behind the bowling machines. He ran back there. He said he saw right behind the machines, there was this huge flames, and he just immediately ran back and called the fire department. And when the fire department got there, what happened was my mechanic had put a cigarette in a trash can. And it caught on fire. It's a plastic trash can. It went up in huge flames, and but it was right next to the washing machine. The flames melted the water hose connected to the machine, and the water came out and put the fire out.
Is that real? That really happened?
Swear to God. And this happened. This is a few days before I'm about to have the first band ever.
Which was the thing that turned the business around.
Turned the business around. And I, at the time, I was like, the devil was trying to He didn't know what was about to happen, but he was trying to stop it, and he didn't. So.
That's great. It burned the washing machine, split the hose lines. That's awesome. You didn't miss a whole lot of days in the early days, but you've missed chunks of time more recently because you've had a couple of health things you had to deal with.
Yeah.
You had bypass surgery in 2022.
Bypass surgery in 2016.
2016, I'm sorry, right.
Yeah.
And the part I love about that story is that the cardiologist, Dr. Gary Manzer, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Dr. Gary Manzer actually had a band who got a gig at Rock and Roll after he diagnosed you as needing surgery, right? There he is right there. There's you and Dr. Gary right there, yeah.
It was kicks. You know, I had gotten the diagnosis, and they tried to put some stents in, and it was like so quick. I was in there. I said, "Y'all did this already?" They said, "No, man, it's worse than we thought. You have a 100% blockage, and a 99% blockage, and another 95% blockage." He said, "You need bypass surgery." So I go back to the room, and I'm waiting to be discharged. And he came in and he discussed what he'd recommend, and he said, "By the way, here's my band card."
Dr. Gary, here's my band card.
So I guess I was a little surprised, but taken aback a little bit.
Right.
But I had to figure that he thought my chances of survival were good. Otherwise, he thought there was still a chance to get a gig at the Rock and Roll, and he did.
He played.
Yeah.
More recently, you were sidelined by an appendectomy, which became like a thing. I mean, like you had some infection, whatever.
Another like ordeal. It was, I came down on June 20th. I was watching the LSU Wake Forest ball game that Wake Forest beat LSU that night. And my stomach just wasn't right, and I wasn't eating. And the next morning, I called the gastro, GI doctor, and I said, "Look," I said, "something's not right." I knew him pretty well, and he gave me a quick, recommended some things to do, and I wasn't in huge pain, just not feeling right. Went on. 8 days later, I get a CAT scan, and they tell me you get to the hospital right away. You have a ruptured appendix. They went and prepped me. They came in and said, "Look, we think you passed the worst of it." Because I had a ruptured appendix, and I've never had anybody else tell me that they weren't bent over in pain.
So it had actually ruptured.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because that's usually a bad thing.
Yeah. That's, I mean, normally.
Yeah.
And but this time it's 8 days later. And he felt that since I wasn't, I had very low fever at the moment, that I was past the worst of it, and suggested I wait 6 weeks. Within 2 days, I was feeling fine, and my fever was gone. I waited the 6 weeks, and when they went in there, it was supposed to be a 20-minute operation. It was 2 hours and 40 minutes. My appendix had exploded.
Oof.
And so anyway, but I came through. I mean, I don't know anybody else who has exploded appendix, and they live to tell about it.
I mean,
But fortunately, I've been feeling great since then, and just had another checkup and some more blood work, and everything's in good shape right now. So.
Well, I don't know if your lifestyle, because when you're at Rock and Roll, you like to have a drink or two.
Sure.
I don't know if that helped you there, or a help or a hindrance when you face these sorts of things?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't drink during that 6-week period, and of course I was not sure what was going on with my body, I have at times partaken in, overly partaken in alcohol there.
Overly,
and but by the grace of God, I mean, I just had, the blood work done, and my liver and my kidneys are excellent, and so some kind of way I've been very fortunate that my body processes alcohol pretty well.
You're built for this, apparently. Yeah. Apparently you're built for this job. Yeah. One of the things that's changed over the course of Rock and Roll, in the early days, you booked a lot of, for lack of a better term, New Orleans bands. I mean, you had Snooks Eaglin and Johnny Adams, and then from Southwest Louisiana, you had Bojack and Bouzou Chavez. Now a lot of the lineup are cover bands. I mean, you have a lot of cover bands, day in and day out. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would see a Rush cover band at Rock and Bowl. But you had a Rush cover band, and it was great. Yeah. So that sort of shift in the booking philosophy, is that a matter of attrition, because all those the greats that I just mentioned, all those guys are dead now, and cover bands are just working for you, or what was there a big philosophical shift?
It wasn't philosophical, because if I had to tell you what I really enjoyed the most since I've been at Rock and Bowl was all the early New Orleans R&B guys that I had there, and that's the music that I loved as a kid, still love, and but the fact is, ironically, like Snooks passed away, 2 months before I opened the new place. Eddie Bo passed away a month later. Cato, of course, had been gone for a while. Johnny Adams had been gone since, I think, 99 or 2000.
Yep,
these guys that, I have their statues, so to speak, behind above the bowling lanes, and I refer to those guys as the Moseses that brought me to the promised land, but they never got to saw it.
The Moseses, right? The Old Testament Moses, right? They saw the promised land.
They saw the promised land, but they never got there. But they brought me to it.
Right. They had to endure going up the stairs to play the gigs at the old Rock and Bowl.
Exactly.
They didn't ever get to be on the ground level Rock and Bowl.
Right. And Snooks, kept telling me, I can't wait till the new place opens, John. But it just was never meant to be. But somehow I lost all those guys, and the contact to that past. Yeah. There's some guys that are still here now. And Kermit Ruffins and Kermit will still occasionally play. I love Kermit. I mean, if I could book Kermit every week and get a crowd every week, I would.
Yeah.
But it's just that's not happening.
Right. You got to mix it. You got to mix it.
I got to mix it up. Trombone Shorty was a guy that played the early Rock and Bowl, often, and he just got so big. Yeah. That in fact, Tab was still a stalwart until a couple of years ago, but he's gotten, he's taken off with his career, and they've just, some of the guys have outgrown me. Yeah. And but majority of them just I've lost by attrition. And you're just trying to, my business is music, but really my primary revenue generator is the parties.
The private parties.
The private parties. And whether it's weddings or rehearsal dinners or birthdays, anniversaries, whatever the occasion, they book, and we'll do, we'll easily do 1,300 or 1,400 parties a year.
1,300 or 1,400 parties a year at Rock and Bowl.
Now it's all sizes. That could be 16 to 600. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so with those parties, because I'm always trying to have music that will be attractive to the parties. The people, they're not booking their party because of a certain band,
right?
But they're hoping for or looking for a festive, let's dance, let's party, and really kind of on a mainstream
Sure.
Music, and so to make them happy, I have, most of the time tended to go to, like you said, the cover band route, and the tribute bands have been doing very, very well for me lately.
Sure. Classic rock tribute band, a lot of classic rock.
A lot of classic rock stuff.
Yep.
There was a time there when those classic rock bands, there was a time when I booked them and nobody would show up.
And that's changed.
Now that's changed. And so I said, I do yearn for the days of old, on the music end, but the days of old just are not bringing in the people.
That's right. One of the other changes when you started Rock and Bowl, social media did not exist.
Right.
Does now, and you like to post on social media quite a bit. Some people have objected to some of the things you've posted, political content or humor, what have you. As a guy whose business is built on attracting a wide swath of the public, a bunch of different people, is it a risk for you to post things that some folks may find controversial?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, there's definitely a risk, on that. I don't ever post anything on my business pages, okay? But on my personal, I do have the feeling that I have an opinion, you have an opinion, everybody has an opinion, and that's fine. If you have an opinion, you should express it. With the social media, it's been surprising to me, I guess. It's elucidating to me that that people could be so self-righteous that all of a sudden, instead of having a disagreement and saying, okay, well, I don't think you're right, this is why I think you're wrong, which is fine, which is what conversation should be.
Right.
I fully expect not everyone to agree with me. I do fully expect them to hear my opinion, and I hear your opinion, and I don't think you're evil. There's plenty. Some people say, well, man, you weren't like that. So, well, sure, I'm the same fella I was before. But if I went through all the old-time musicians I know, okay, and I told all the stories that they've told me, okay, these same self-righteous people, they would have been horrified at the stories I could tell them that Ernie Cato passed on to me, okay? But it says, and what Ernie did, I don't agree with, but that never stopped me from loving Ernie Cato, okay? And I knew, there was some things that, that Ernie Cato did to me personally that I wasn't too happy about, okay? And I'm not the only guy out there.
Right.
But Cato was one of my all-time favorite characters, and I loved Ernie, and I loved Antoinette.
His wife, Ernie Cato, Mr. Mother-in-law. No, the ability to agree to disagree is a lost art on social media. It is. We just got a couple minutes left here, so I want to kind of wrap it up by saying, you're 70 years old. You've been doing this for a long time. Eventually, you will not be doing this anymore. And again, only a couple of minutes left here. Do you plan to retire, or are you going to be there forever? And B, are you confident that your son, Johnny, who runs Rock and Roll in Lafayette, that he can keep the brand going?
Yeah, I am confident. I don't have any intention to retire. I don't know how I can retire. I tell people I owe too much money to retire. Okay, I guess if I paid off all the debt, before Katrina, I had I leased the old bowling alley, and then after I have a square block in Earhart and Carrollton, and a square block in downtown Lafayette, and it cost me a lot of money to accumulate that. My son is a champion. I wouldn't be here today celebrating if it wasn't for him. My son-in-law works with me. I have great in-laws, great children, and I think the future is brighter, once I leave. But I've had a great run, and it's been a total blessing to have been given this opportunity.
Amen. I mean, it's 35-year run, thousands and thousands of nights. So many memories made for so many people that have come through Rock and Bowl. So I mean, yeah, if tomorrow was your last day, it's a heck of a legacy. But like you said, you're going to be there as long as you're able.
As long as I'm able.
Roll you out there in the wheelchair one day if need be.
It might be.
Set you on the end of the bowling lane, let you roll a bowling ball down the thing. Do you bowl? Do you bowl real?
You know what? I have not bowled a game yet in the new place.
What?
It just never was. Since I was there, I've been busy. And if I stop to bowl, the phone rings and somebody needs something. So it is.
Always.
Yeah, always. Some angle, something needs to be taken care of.
Well, John, I hope you take the time to bowl at some point, because it can be a lot of fun.
All right, it is a lot of fun.
All right, well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
I really
you.
enjoyed this discussion.
Well, I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the coverage that you and the Picayune has given me over the years. It's been a great help, and you've been a great friend.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for being here. Thanks to everyone for watching. I am Keith Spera. We'll see you next time on Let's Talk.